Hey guys, it's me again, Nuke here for another topic. So today I want to talk about morality and dating, right? I put out some statistics up there that a lot of people already know, but a lot of people don't know what to do with them and whose fault is it and who do we blame and how do we proceed, the media, scientists, studies, they all like to make these studies, and then when the results come out, there's nothing done, and there's really all it does is shock and awe. People clutch their pearls, but we're going to talk about today what this means as a young single man in dating and how to proceed with all this perception of how bad or how terrible the dating market is in terms of like morality, what's best for me, what's best for everyone, etc. Right? So morality, right? Let's talk about what the definition is of morality. So morality is principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong, or good and bad behavior, right? Um, or similar definition is a particular system of values and principles of conduct, especially one held by a specific person or society. And then the third I see here is the extent to which an action is right or wrong, right? So that's the definition of morality. Basically, is is the action you're performing right or wrong? It does not specify according to who. It could be the individual, it could be society, it could be a religion, it could be an institution, it could be a demographic, um, several things, right? So here's another interesting definition. So let's talk about ethics. So ethics is pertaining to or dealing with morals or the principles of morality, pertaining to right and wrong in conduct, being in accordance with the rules or standards for the right conduct or practice, especially with the standards of a profession. It was not considered ethical for physicians to advertise, as an example, right? So, what can be moral isn't exactly always ethical. For example, a lawyer can be in a court, and then he can tell a judge, that his client is guilty. That is moral because maybe he did a horrible crime, and the lawyer is like, "Yeah, there's no, I can't defend this." Um, but that's unethical because within the rules of the profession of being an attorney, you're not allowed to do that, or it looks bad on you, right? So you see that there's a distinction there. We're going to talk about the morality and ethics of dating. So first, let's discuss where we're at, right? Let's take the doom pill real quick, and let's see where we're at in terms of the dating market, the sexual marketplace, what's going on out there. Everyone's, it's like the hottest topic. It's been the hottest topic for the last year. So what do we got? We got the study that 1/3 of men are sexless or a virgin in the past year, 18 to 30, if I'm not mistaken. Um, we have recently 64% of young men I think it's 18 to 30, if I'm not mistaken, um, are single, 64%. And then obviously there's other, um, what do you call it? There's other statistics out there that will show what the state of dating is for men, right? Um, Now let's go into more things that we observe anecdotally or just seen in the media or social media and stuff like that, right? We could see that the perceived heroes of young men. This includes, like Andrew Tate and like Donald Trump and divisive figures like that, who for a lot of young men, obviously they don't have the maturity of a man older that I do and can see that you are your own hero. But let's say, for argument's sake, that a lot of the men that these young guys look up to are being ostracized, jailed, torn down, canceled, or whatever, right? So where else? Here's a big one: open hypergamy, right? So as time goes on and the restraints off of women, and the shame and the culture shift, the Overton window, whatever you want to call it, moves, open hypergamy become more of a thing. Open hypergamy basically is we all understand that hypergamy is the operative female state. It's not a straitjacket. It doesn't mean that any guy who has more money than you is just gonna, while you're on the street, take your girl and run away, and that's it, right? There's more factors to that, right? But open hypergamy is like women on social media blatantly, even though they could suffer, a little bit of reputation or destruction, or face consequences of their, of their statements and actions, are not really facing any consequences, or rather they're being applauded for having exceptionally high standards, doing extremely slutty things. And it's not always like an applause. It could be like more followers, it could be more fame, notoriety, more respect. um, we see this every day. We're bombarded by acts of open hypergamy, whether it be at the local level with your, maybe you have a female friend that's bragging about, she has several guys in a rotation, or it could be the worldwide level. You have porn stars telling you that, that they're running rotations of men, and they're doing crazy things and playing and messing around with men and ruining their lives, and they're also applauded, right? So we have that open hypergamy, like, I don't care, I'm just going to do whatever I want factor, right? um then we have the perceived. Now I say perceived, that's the operative word here. Perceived impossible standards that women have for us as men, right? We see them on podcasts. We see the little street interviews that we're bombarded with on social media. Even if you don't even search them, people will always post them everywhere you go, whatever platform. And they'll say things like, you need to be 6 feet tall, you need to be an asshole, but also be nice, and make a certain amount of money, and have a certain profession, or like, they just list off of things that would disqualify you as a man. And if you look at it, they're like, you run it through a census calculator, and you realize that not even 1% of the men meet their standards, right? So that's another bullet point here. Then you have the shaming tactics. So if you don't like women that look a certain way, or a certain race, or a certain weight, or a certain whatever, you're shamed for it. Like, obviously, maybe this is like the weakest of all these arguments in terms of like where the dating, how bad the dating market is, because obviously you can't force people, especially men. You can't. Men will have sex with whatever. I know I don't want to say it, sounds crass, but men will have sex with whatever, but their preferences will never change. Men have sex with who they can. So their preferences will never change, but they will sleep with what's available sometimes, right? At least most men will. And then you have, the feeling, it just overall, this creates a feeling of perceived helplessness. Like, we don't have any agency. I'll never measure up to these women. And then it divides into two camps. Camp one is like, give up, black pill, um, you know, go into sedation, uh, don't worry about it anymore. And then we have the other camp, which is like, wake up every day at 6 a.m., grind, hustle, become a millionaire by 30. That way a woman can love you. Or, you can achieve a woman maybe once in your life, you know, because and both are in the frame of women, by the way. Um, and then here's a tough one too, like asymmetry of women's problems and male problems, right? Like, you have, again, you go on social media or wherever the news, and you have women, sometimes famous women, sometimes women on the street, sometimes normal women, whatever, complaining about problems, especially in dating, like they can't find the right man, or one man cheated on them, or whatever problem they have. Meanwhile, you have men that like haven't had sex in a year, or are virgins, past the age of 18, maybe 25. Those problems, to me personally, do not seem the same, right? Obviously, it could lead to something really bad. Like, if a woman gets with the wrong guy, she can get pregnant and abandoned, which happens a lot. Or if she gets with the wrong guy, she can get abused. Not as common, but it still happens. But overall, um, the fact that one side of this coin is that men are not having sex at all, and women are complaining because um, she doesn't like that shorter men approach her, as I've seen before, or men that are make less money, or men that don't take her seriously because she's not really trying, she's not really wife material, she doesn't see it. Like, both of those problems, both of those sets of problems are asymmetric to me. I don't know what your opinion is as the viewer, but I don't take most of women's problems seriously than you should either, because there is a big asymmetry right now in the problem. Not to say that women don't suffer as much as men or have the capacity to, but in terms of the dating market overall in general, the problems are very asymmetric, right? Um, and there's different manifestations of the asymmetry of dating realities for both men and women. For example, women are paid for their time sometimes. They're sugar dating, right? And sugar dating is very common. As I said in my thread, sugar dating is very, very common, more common than you think. The problem is that there's different names, or it goes under the radar, or women just don't even perceive it. They're so used to getting special treatment, and when a guy buys them something out of nowhere, a guy that's not her boyfriend, or just a random guy that she met online, offered to pay her something, a flight, a bag, a date, whatever. um they just see it as, oh, he was just being nice. They don't register that as an advance, because it's not coming from a place of like putting attraction first. It's comfort first, right? So I can't go out and get paid. I mean, I you know I could find an older lady or a desperate woman to pay for my stuff, and maybe, she wants to pay for my nudes. Who knows? There's every, like my mom said, there's everything in this world. But the fact that most women, I'm not going to say most, but several women that I've met, more than you would probably think, are getting free things from men just for existing, not even for sex, just for existing. That's an asymmetric problem, because as a man, you don't get anything. As a matter of fact, you lose, right? So, um, and then the final one is that whenever a problem exists that makes the female gender look bad, it becomes a gender neutral problem, right? So, for example, there was an article that said that millennials, I don't know if it's Gen Z, but millennials are um, going into credit card debt because of dating. Now, I've dated a whole bunch, so I know what they're trying to say is that men are going into credit card debt for dating, because I have women are not paying for my dates. I'd say 1 out of 50 women would pay for a date, insist and be like, no, I'm paying. That is very rare that a woman pays, right? So you see how it instead of saying men are going men are going into credit card debt to pay for women's dates in an era where equalism and blank slate equalism exists, makes women look bad and doesn't add up to the narrative, right? So instead, they'll use a gender neutral. Millennials in general, um are going into that. When we know, as a cognizant man that looks at the dating market and sees everything, for a fact that it's the men paying for the dates. So at the end of the day, it's the men going into credit card debt, right? So that's another bullet point here in the terms of like where we're at in terms of what you're facing um, in the dating market, in terms of like psychological and like what they're trying to convince you of and all that, right? So um, what do we do with this? This is a lot of negative stuff. This is a lot of shitty things that maybe it might make most men quit, turn to sedation. Um, hell, I get tired sometimes. I take breaks and I just, want to play piano or play video games, or just, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to deal with this, right? Because it could get exhausting at times, right? But we want to know what to do. We're not here to just complain and just sit around and do nothing, right? We want to at least develop a mental model, a way to think our way through this problem, and move on from complaints and accepting the negative, instead of accepting that there is a way through this. It's just it just requires a little bit of thought. So what do we do, right? There's a certain truth that a lot of men have to accept, right? And it's hard. I know, and I understand that it's hard. The first truth you have to accept, that there is no pendulum, right? There is no going back to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You're not gonna things aren't gonna go back to where you hit up a girl on Facebook, and or right on her page on Facebook, and you set up a date, or you're gonna see her, right? Just like back in the early 2010s, right? um It's just time's gonna go forward, and things, like, I always ask people, are things getting better in terms of dating? Is it become easier, right? No, even as a man who's leveled up and gone out there, it's difficult. No one's saying it's easy, right? Whether you want a relationship, whether you just want to have fun, whether you spin plates, whatever you want, it is not easy, right? You're dealing with a lot harder things that your parents did, that your grandparents did, and it's on you, right? And you have to accept, number one, that there is no pendulum, and also there's no equalizer outside of yourself. There is no politician, there is no policy, there is no, like, a lot of people celebrate, like, for the abortion thing, right? A lot of people celebrate that, whenever abortion rights get taken away, but that does not change. That's not changing anything. No policy is going to turn this around. You have to accept that first. That this is just going to. I'm not going to say get worse. It's just going to keep evolving, right? And you have to stay ahead of that, or else you can't keep pining for the past. I wish things were back the way they were. I probably would be married right now with kids, or who knows where I would have been. But you have to accept that there is no pendulum. We're going forward, and the game's going to keep evolving, and you have to stay with the game, right? Um, Also, here's another thought. Things are not as bad as they seem. You know, like you know, as a guy who's had experience with women and talked to them and dealt with women of all races and backgrounds and religions and jobs and all that stuff. Obviously, there are jobs, and women that are bad. There's just terrible people, and you usually you can pick up on it pretty fast, right? But also understand that, as I see these shows or these street interviews or wherever, where girls are just saying the most crazy stuff, right? Um, for every one of those girls, let's say those girls were being honest, which I even doubt that, right? Let's say they were saying those things, right? Most of the time, for every one of those girls, from what I've seen, this is a personal experience, and you can believe it or not, right? Um, Most women are not that crazy, of all ages, right? Or they're not going to be that crazy and treat you like that. you know a man that they like and respect, they're not going to act like that, right? um they're still subject to societal norms. They cannot just go around acting crazy 24/7 unless they're mentally ill. But most of the women, you're going to sit down on a coffee date or a wine date or whatever date, right? And they're going to be a pleasure and a joy. As long as you have the charm in the game to talk to them correctly and get them talking about themselves, I would say about 80% of women that I've met are absolute joy. Even the ones that were on a date and then nothing happened and they didn't go anywhere, right? They were a joy to have around, and I enjoyed their company, right? So things aren't as bad. It's just that, remember, outrage is what sells. Emotions are what sells. So when you get mad that a girl is saying that she has a high body count, or she cheated on her boyfriend, or she's very unattractive, but is describing a very high value man, right? So things are not as bad, right? Because let's say, for argument's sake, that I'm a high value man, right? The girls that are unattractive, they're invisible to me. I know that's a mean thing to say, but like, I'm invisible to a lot of girls simply because I'm not what they like, right? But they're just saying that because it makes them, it helps with their perception of reality. But reality is reality, right? And at the end of the day, as long as you have your strong boundaries in your frame and your own mental point of origin, these things are going to be never going to occur to you. You're never have to deal with these things. And if you do, you already have the tools to deal with them, right? So things are not as bad. Women are not as bad as they want you to think that they are now, right? Um, at least not all of them. Um, so here's another one. Like, so, I was talking about shaming, and society. I hate you saying that. Society, the societal norms now is that men are being shamed for, like, having preferences, women, for, using our advantages in the dating game and dating multiple women at once. I'll say this. So society doesn't want you to use your advantages, right? As a man, they don't like that. Obviously, it's because we live in a gynocentric social order. So anything done for the express, express benefit of a man only is seen as childish, immature, bad, immoral. So you have to get through that and realize like that it's not that they're in acting or saying that you're a bad person for using them. It's just that anything that is not benefiting them, at least indirectly, is seen as bad, and that's it. It doesn't mean it's bad. It means it's seen as bad, right? So how do we get through this? You have to be your own mental point of origin, and you have to hold frame, right? Um, if you want to spin plates and date multiple women, you have to do it and do it righteously. Like Patrice O'Neill said, righteous. You have to be like, this is what it is, and I'm not going to change just because society told me. You have to be righteous. That is your tool in order to unlock all your advantages, right? So in your advantages, like you can see multiple women at once, and um you can, and you don't have to be attached to those women, right? You can see three women at once, and none of those women um are necessarily gonna you don't are not necessarily gonna get attached to any of them. Um Also, another advantage you have is the more women you sleep with is the more respect you get, the more experience with women you get, and that helps you, and it just keeps compounding on itself, right? Women don't have that privilege, even though they're trying to, and no matter how hard they try right now, this is where society clashes with reality, right? So you have to unlock your advantages in the dating game. You know what they are deep down. You know what they are. You have to be righteous about it. That does not mean to throw it in everyone's face, like in my last video or one of my videos. Discretion is a good policy to have, but that doesn't mean you sacrifice your biological imperative as a man to appease somebody. It just means that you just keep it quiet, and if you get found out, not that you apologize, but um you know you take certain steps to minimize the reaction and not just scream it out, and you don't want to throw it in people's face, right? Only women get the benefit of throwing their sexual strategy in everyone's face, even the bad parts, and everyone having to accept it, right? Us as men, we don't, but we don't have to, because we don't care. We just do what we do, and you just move on, right? Um, so like you see all these like statistics, right? In these and they're depressing, right? Like um now here's a crazy one. Maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think I read this, that more women own houses than men, and it's not due to divorce. It's just more women are just doing better, right? So there's a lot of societal expectations of you based on anything that men do that benefits women is pushed hard, right? So if like you they want men to step up, and they want men to buy property, and they want men to wife up women. They want men to work harder, so the women that also worked hard and gained the same salary and are unable to take down, they have options, right? It's all stacked against you. They want you to have all of the responsibility but none of the authority, right? And that's not fair, right? Honestly, let's take away societal expectations from a rational perspective, looking at it as rational as you can. That is not fair at all. So why participate in this I'm never going to be good enough kind of game? What do you get out of it? No, that's not to say go home and be a loser and live in your mom's basement, right? The proverbial mom's basement, right? It just means that you're doing this for you. You know, I'm doing everything I'm doing is for me. That is the point of your mental port of origin. It is that the first thought, whenever something comes up in your life, or a problem, or an expectation, or anything, you are the first thought, right? So if you want to buy a house because you just want to buy a house, yes, then do that. But if you want to buy a house because mom and dad and society and everyone else has a house, I should buy a house. I don't want, you shouldn't live in an apartment partying in the city. You should live in the suburbs. No, that's not what we're talking about here. You want to buy a house because you want to buy a house, or whatever financial decision, or if you want to get married, or if you want to have kids, it's on you. You have to make the decision. Um, so ignore the societal expectations of you, and think of your own, right? Um, Also, yeah, and at least in my basically it's just stop setting yourself on fire for to meet the expectations of women, society, your parents, and all that stuff. You do you. If you want to set yourself on fire, let it be for yourself and your future, not some mystery women that you'll meet in the future that may or may not even be good for you, or may or may not even respect you, or may or may not leave you. Do it for you. Uh, yeah, essentially, it's become selfish. Become You are first in your life, right? Everything else is secondary. And I know, a lot of guys who can't handle that, especially in dating. They want to revolve their life around the girl, whether it be their girlfriend, wife, just prospect. You have to be first. If you tell a girl, hey, we're meeting here because it's convenient to you, and if she doesn't show up, you can bail easily. It's not far. You didn't drive. And if she tries to change the venue on you, go ahead and cancel on her. Because what she's doing is she thinks that the date is catering to her, but it's really catering to you. You know, you're the one that's gonna pay. You're the prize. Not in the winner winner chicken dinner jackpot kind of prize, but you are the person of interest here. You are the VIP in this equation, right? If she wants to meet you, the cost to meet you is to drive too close to you, to where you're comfortable, where you dominate the environment, and then you can have a chat, right? That's just an example. Um, and then finally, the one of the best things you could do is like resources, right? You're watching this video too because we're all here trading notes, and we all want to um, learn and share experiences, and we want to help other guys, you know, um, on how to think and how to move through this crap. We don't want to leave anyone behind, but it has to be you. You have to be the one to make the decision, to get those resources and apply them. Right? I know guys that read all the red pill stuff, but they don't apply anything, or they only apply the stuff that's easy. But when it comes time to apply things that are difficult, it doesn't work. They don't want to do it. It's too much. Or the blue pill conditioning comes in. Right? You have to take advantage of this information age, and all these videos. Mine aren't even that great, but like there's so much information from like-minded guys like me, um that can help you. You can ask questions. You could use their services, their media, their books, their videos, and you can gain that perspective that you didn't have, that would have taken you maybe 2 or 3 heartbreaks to understand. Right? Use that to your advantage so you can beat this. um so um that at the end of the day, morality is just a tool that society and women use to shame you into doing what's best for the gynocentric social order and dating. It's for making women number one and everywhere you go, right? that that is what that is, right? So don't in morality, when it comes to morality, you have to understand that your personal morality and society's morality may cross over at times, and may, like a Venn diagram, right? Like, for example, there are certain things that are illegal. You can't, like, you can't hurt women. That is illegal. You can't hurt anyone. That is illegal. You do not do that, right? But um nothing says that you have to pay for the date. Obviously, you pay for the date, but nothing says that. It's just expected of you. So where did that come from? So women are killing it, are graduating. Women own more houses. They're doing better off financially, but men are still paying for dates and going into credit card for dates. Is there morality there? Is there a symmetry in terms of, like, is it equal there? Think about these things when you're going into dating, and if you're gonna really go out there and meet women, think about how stacked the term morality is against you, right? And then use rationality, and use your own point of origin to make decisions on how you're going to do things, right? And every man is different, right? I don't consider myself a very cruel person. I'm very nice. So there's certain things that a lot of men will, do, and there's certain things a lot of men won't do. Like, there's the cheating debate. Cheating debate is a big debate. um and I think it just comes down to every individual man, and they deal with it how they can, right? Um, other debates is what's another debate? Um, I mean, there's the paying on the first date, but I mean, I think most guys have accepted that paying on the first date is just you just do it. Being a cheap guy turns women off to no end. You know, I would say the biggest like ethical thing, not within the red pill, I think within society is dating multiple girls at once. While there's like one small side where it's just like, wow, you're a womanizer, you're good, but there's another one that's like you're playing with women, blah blah blah, this blah blah that, right? But like I said, there's no morality in any of this. There is no morality in dating. That is the final statement here. There is nothing within dating. There are laws that protect either sex, right? But understand that you just by you stepping out and talking to a girl, you're already in trouble legally, right? There is no morality in this. It is not the societal norms do not favor you, so you just have to move accordingly. And you need to move past that. You want to be good to women. Women are neither good nor bad. They're within a situation and environment which incentivizes them to be sometimes bad. So when there's an incentive that makes the other party be bad, you all you can do is introduce things that incentivizes them to be good. Whether it be a strong frame, whether it be you being very attractive, whether you being having other women to introduce dread. Those are all your tools, and all those tools are seen as bad, and they don't like that, right? But you have no choice but to use these tools to be successful, right? Because at the end of the day, let's say you're rotating 3 or 4 girls, and you like one of those girls, and you start dating one of those girls exclusively. You drop all the other ones, right? Do you not think that that woman you choose to date um has benefited you from you being so versed in her behavior, from learning from other women, and also introducing that, hey, if you don't act like a girlfriend like you're supposed to, I can leave because I have other options, right? um don't you think that would benefit the relationship in the long term? It would, right? So morality is very subjective. Morality is always seen through the veneer of the other party. So if you see it that way, it'll help you decide, how to act and how to move through this, right? I always like to try to finish with the story, but um, I don't really got a story today. I just wanted to touch on morality. Um, Essentially, you have your own individual morality. If you feel like it's bad to like spin plates, you're in for a lot of hurt, right? You have to really think that you can be moral in your job, moral in your church, moral in your family, very moral. But when you're dealing with this dating market, you have to be a little Machiavellian. You have to be dark triad. You have to be selfish, or else you're gonna be angry and bitter, and then you may become an immoral person, and you don't want that, right? So that's all I have for today. Please give a like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments on morality and how you see it, please leave a comment below and we can discuss it. And if you guys would like to see any topics in particular, please comment below. I'm willing to do anything that everyone wants or needs or asks. And yeah, or follow me on Twitter, same as my YouTube handle. Um, and that's all I have. Thank you. Have a good night.